September 19th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is what the chart looked like today and how I drew it up. Go ahead and look down at the descriptions below to see where I actually took my trades as well as where I thought I saw setups. There wasn't any economic data that I could find that really moved the markets. It looked like it was in a pre-market sell-off. At first, I thought it was going to be in a range in this area. Then it sold off and then it kind of consolidated and then recovered pretty much close to where the highs were of the regular trading hours. I only took two trades today, both were green, and there wasn't actually that many setups that I could find. Even though there are these big swings, like this big leg down comes up, made a measured move down to here, there wasn't too many setups, and then in this huge consolidated congestion area, there wasn't too many setups as well. I couldn't find a good entry on this big leg up, consolidation, and another leg up, sell off. So overall, it was a little bit slow today. Now keep in mind tomorrow's the FOMC rate decision. Pretty much everybody is expecting that there's going to be no change, but they're going to be looking for color commentary from Fed Jerome Powell on where he thinks the next, because there's still three more meetings that will occur this year, another one in October, November, and then December. So there is an expectation that a rate hike of about 25 basis points will happen, probably in one of those meetings one more time. But everybody's thinking that this next one, there's not going to be a rate hike. Nevertheless, we'll see what happens, and I'm going to go into the trades right now. Oh, I just want to point out, since I have this already in the big vision or big chart, I ended up drawing this red channel as the leg down or the channel down, and then I was trying to make another channel fit with this blue one, but I couldn't quite get the other side to fit very well. So it ended up being a potential support, which held nicely, this blue line coming down. And then the top side was this resistance, which held pretty well. But then to make it a channel, this red one didn't quite meet too well on this bottom part right down here. It'll make more sense as I go through it, hopefully. This is the pre-market. Pre-market originally I thought was going to be a trading range because there was a push up, hit, sold off, and then as you can see into them open, it looked like things were just consolidating, kind of dwelling down here. So I thought, okay, most likely it's going to push right back up to here. Keep in mind this red channel and this blue line don't exist yet. I did draw this orange line as a potential leg up down. I was looking if this broke through, maybe there'll be another measured move down. First setup I saw was here. There's a new low, first entry short. This was setting up for a second entry short. And I was looking for potential second entry short, but I gave up that idea when I saw that this was a neutral bar, even though it's below the EMA. I wanted to close more bearish than I would have probably had a order ready to push it down because it was consolidating inside this smaller range. So I was thinking maybe there's a push down and it might, eventually make its way back all the way up to the pre-market high. But since this signal bar didn't look that good, I didn't really have an order ready or think to go short. Then of course, this one, if you did go short, which I think would have been aggressive, it would have worked out. Drops around, it falls into this trading range, and I'm just watching it carefully. Then it starts looking like it's following this green channel up, breaks through. It breaks and tests the high, so it comes up. At this point, I was thinking there might be some kind of resistance here because originally I was trying to make this channel work, but it didn't fit nicely at all. And I didn't want to do something like this and drag this all the way down here because this channel is just too large at that point. So I pretty much treated it as kind of a piecemeal downward trend where it's this, I guess, slope and then a more aggressive slope down. And that's how I was trading it. Then prices kept moving, comes up, and I did draw this red channel or this red trend channel, this red trend line coming down. I had one touch, two touch, and I did have it drag down a little bit lower to this touch. So all this is a new high, first entry long, second entry long, second entry long failure, but this is a pretty bad signal bar, so I wasn't ready to take it. And then after the close of this trigger bar, there's not enough room to make it to get your scalp before you hit the potential support, because clearly there's some kind of support right here. Because at this point, I'm still thinking you're in a big giant trading range. consolidating. I was expecting a big move back up, or at least another attempt to push up. But I was wondering whether this red trend line was in play. It creates a lower high here. This lower high confirms the second entry long that failed right here, second entry long failure. But again, you don't really have much room to scalp out. Even if you try to put a limit order and try to back it up here, hoping the next candle will fill you, it's a little bit dicey in my opinion. Then it breaks through. The price action continues going down. And so at this point, I was a little confused because I said, hey, this blue trend line fits pretty well, but it's not parallel to this red line. So it's almost looking like it's wedging. So I wasn't really sure if this red channel was going to be in the one that dominates, or potentially this this blue line might have been something like up here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this right now. And so I was just wondering, anytime it gets down to here, might be a potential to go long. Anytime it comes up here, might be a potential to go short. But I wasn't sure, so I had to wait. This is actually where I saw my first setup. I saw actually a new low here. It's a first entry short. Pulls up. I wanted it to come back to the EMA. It doesn't. And I saw this as a second entry short. It looks like it's testing the lows. So here, if you're ambitious, you would have probably taken an entry here, but it's pushing right into the bottom of this trading range. And so by the time it actually broke through this, came back, I dropped in my order, but in real time, I wasn't thinking this through completely because this is selling at the lows of the range, and which you do not want to do, even though this is also the low of the day in regular trading hours. So when I dropped in this order, I immediately thought that was a pretty bad idea. I didn't read, and I didn't read the chart correctly, and I probably jumped in too early because I'm also selling at the recent low of day. Now, there's nothing that says prices couldn't continue downwards, but this setup isn't clean enough to believe that there's enough momentum to push it down. So I dropped it in. I kept my stop loss right one tick above this range, and I was barely able to survive. So this creates a lower high. It confirms the second entry short, but if you waited for this lower high to take an entry, it also isn't a very good entry because even though it didn't break through the EMA, there's no room to scalp out before you hit the localized bottom. And I also saw another second entry short here. Comes here, it's a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Second entry short, again, you wouldn't take this, or I wouldn't recommend it because it's also in the middle of this trading range. Go ahead and zoom in. Middle of this trading range, EMA is still holding prices down. The thing that would give you any kind of indication to go ahead and go short is these are making successively lower highs. So you can tell things are trending down, and it is also making lower lows. But still, this isn't a good setup to take. And finally, you have a lower high here. Just barely. It looked like it went up, trapped a bunch of bulls, and then flushed down. And then the next candle, when it finally broke through, this 6 touches on this 44.70, this is probably actually the one setup that would have been worthwhile taking, but I was still holding through this. And notice that when it breaks through, it probably hit a bunch of stop losses or stop orders for anybody that decided to go long a little early, thinking they caught the bottom, thinking you're buying at the bottom of the range, it could turn up and make its way back up to here. And here it flushes through. I was able to exit, but you can see from the timestamp 7:09 to about 7:16, I had to kind of wait through this noise where I easily could have gotten stopped out. So this entry wasn't the best. So this trade really wasn't anything to be proud of. I think I was more lucky that it happened to work out. This one was a little bit too early. I should have just waited to see what happens. When prices continue, it comes back into the trading range. So you have a failed breakout, comes up, and it hits this red trend line, which I've established as a very likely resistance. But the support, I'm not sure of. I also noticed that it made one leg down, push back, second leg down. So when I was taking this, I was thinking, it hadn't completed the measure move on this one trade, and I was hoping that it would get back down to here, but this setup wasn't strong enough to take it. Even though it broke out of this green channel, it would push to make a new low. The entry is just too late. The prices continue chopping around. It goes down. There's no clean entry here. This is actually where I take my second trade of the day. This one's a little bit better. So I have a new low here. First entry short pulls back. Second entry short sets up here. So here it's hitting this confirmed resistance. So I'm actually getting my order ready. And so when this was forming on the life of this candle, when it actually broke below, stayed below a little bit, I dropped in my limit order one tick below this guy and just waited. I wasn't sure I was going to get filled. Fortunately, I got filled. And I like that it broke below the EMA and there was enough room to get scalp out before you hit the bottom. And on the next candle, I was able to scalp out for a quick point. The price will continue dropping down. Looks like it's consolidating here again. At this point, I'm just not liking exactly what I see. I think it's just too congested. Plus the range is too tight because the range here is only about 2 points, roughly 2.5, maybe 2 3/4 points. And it's just, there's no real good trade here to even try to scalp a point. The prices continue moving. It falls into what I think is a larger trading range, which I kind of drew up here. Then it flashes and it starts chopping around. And I think there's a orange channel coming down here. I like that it touched the top 3 times, and it's confirming the bottom pretty much 3 times as well. Here I thought this was actually a pretty viable trade, but I didn't take it. This is a lower high failed second entry long, because you actually have a new high here. You have a this is very interesting. So this actually was, there's a candle here. It actually formed the second entry long. Well, I think it was actually tighter in here, but you could say there's a new high. It's a first entry long, pulls back, second entry long, failure. Now, I thought previously there might have been something here, maybe a first entry long, pulls back, and a second entry long, tighter here. Nevertheless, it was also backed up by a lower high, and it is being rejected off the top of this descending trend channel. So I like this setup. It also closed very nicely bearish. And so I didn't take the trade though, because I don't think I was mentally prepared. I was just kind of watching it go by. And you could argue it's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, and a second entry short continuation down. But second entry short signal bar is this one, which isn't very good. So you'd be taking a risk if you entered an anticipation of this candle. But still, I thought the setup wasn't bad here. Prices continue going down, has a failed breakout here, comes back up, starts trending up. Now, this is a big leg up. Unfortunately, there's no clean second entries that I could find. And you just have to watch this kind of run away without you, without getting too much FOMO and trying to jump in. Consolidates here, breaks out, failed breakout, comes back down, consolidates some more, and it continues up. Now it's making its way back into the pre-market highs and lows, which at this point didn't really seem to be all that important because this range is clearly not in play now. It's just one leg down, a consolidation. Now it's kind of rallying back up. So it's kind of big V structure. It hits, comes back down. I don't see any good clean entries. I'm just waiting. And it's a shame because this is a big, strong move. If you were able to enter on this, you would have easily gotten at least, I think, 20 points, which is quite a lot. The prices continue moving. There's a small overshoot here, consolidates, and it breaks out. I see a failed second entry short, but it's too late in the day. So I count this as a localized low. Technically, this is the lowest part, but here I count it as a low. So first entry short, pull back, second entry short. Second entry short looks like it's about to fail here because it bounced off the EMA. It broke out of this upward channel, this smaller green channel. It made one attempt up, pulls back. Typically, you think it might be coming back down, but it looks like it's pushing again for a second attempt because even though this is technically higher than this high, it could have been considered just a matching high, and prices might want to push again upwards. I also like that it was falling within this yellow channel, so hitting the support pretty nicely. So I had 2 key entry points in my view, the EMA as well as this upward yellow channel, plus it has a pretty good signal bar. But the thing that's going against it is it's very late in the day. There's only about 19, 20 minutes left, so I have a tendency to just kind of leave those alone. This is a decent setup, but not the best one. So definitely didn't motivate me to jump in on it. The prices continue moving up. As you can see, it would have worked out pretty well. And then now we're getting to the close. This is only the last 10 minutes where it gets super choppy, which I don't like to be involved with unless there's like, it has to be a very, very, very clean, very good setup. And even then, I'd have my doubts. And it kind of goes into the close. So this is how the charts look like for me today. Unfortunately, I didn't quite see a good setup here. There might have been a setup, but from my experience and my experience level, I couldn't find a good setup to feel confident taking a trade. You could argue as you were chopping in here, you could have maybe seen a bigger visual, like one leg down, pull back, a second leg down, and then a reversal. But I didn't quite see it that way or read it that way, so I pretty much left it alone. So how I saw the charts today, as you can see, it was not a very clean channel, but you could tell for sure there was a bearish bias coming down. So hopefully that was helpful.